This is the grape behind the modern wine that's been dubbed the White Barolo. Before the 20th century, Timorasso was one of the most heralded grapes in Piemonte, which is in northwest Italy. Phylloxera hit the region. When vineyards were replanted, producers started moving to Cortese because it was more reliable, give bigger yields. It's the grape behind the white wine Gavi. For those of you that don't know what Phylloxera is an insect native to North America. It eats the roots of grapevines, which eventually die. It was brought over by accident to Europe in the late 1800s, and by the early 1900s, it really decimated a lot of vineyards in Europe. That's why a lot of vineyards were replanted. That's when a lot of varieties either became extinct or almost became extinct, because producers went to grapes that were more reliable. Up into the 80s and 90s, there were only about 6 hectares of this grape variety. A lot of times it was either eaten as table grapes or put into a blend. Walter Massa is a grower that's credited for reviving the grape variety in the late 80s, and as of right now, there are about 50 producers of Timorasso. My favorite native grape varieties in Italy are Fiano, Friulano, Verdicchio, and now maybe Timorasso takes the top spot. The grape grows around the village of Tortona, and the wines fall under the Italian appellation Colli Tortonesi, although producers have started a new brand called Derthona. A lot of people will say Derthona in English, but there's no th in Italian. Derthona is the old Latin name for the village of Tortona. I think it's really smart. Producers are working to try to make it its own appellation. They also make a Piccolo Derthona, which is almost like a Petit Chablis. Then Derthona is like the Chablis, and then there's single vineyard true wines. It takes oak well. It's structured, has interesting aromatics of Riesling. That's what it's described as. We'll see here when we blind taste some of the wines. Even though there's a short history of vinifying it into wine, producers find that it ages pretty well. I have a few wines with some bottle age on them. I have some Derthonas, and I have a Piccolo Derthona, so let's see if we can taste the difference. Piccolo Derthonas, the little Derthona, are wines made from younger vines. It's a rarity that I put my jacket on, but these are serious, classy wines. I had relatively little experience with this grape until earlier this year. I judged at Mundus Vini in Germany, and usually during the competition, one of the evenings, they bring a region in for all the judges to taste. They have dinner, and the producers of Colli Tortonesi came. That's the first time I tasted a bunch of Timorassos all next to each other, and I was just blown away. So I am super inspired to do this video. There's not a lot of these wines made. They're expensive, but man, to me, they're super exciting. Let's blind taste some wines. Serious wines, so I'm going to taste out of my Riedel Pinot Noir Performance glass. I find this works great with big structured white wines. This is the first glass I've actually bought for myself in a long time. It was a Christmas present. Man, as always, I Coravend these and had somebody mix them up for me. The first time I tasted a bunch of Timorassos all together, it was just a casual stand-up tasting. It was loud. There was music we were eating. So this is great because I'll be able to sit down and concentrate on the wines. Let's start out with wine number one. I actually prefer, even though Timorasso takes oak well, I prefer the wines just done in stainless steel and with some bottle age. I think all of these here are aged in stainless steel. One is partially aged in oak. This has like white apple blossom, like some chestnut, white flower, lemon. It does have a little bit of a Riesling-y nose, Riesling-y nose. Maybe not as explosive, a little more subtle. It's got like this Italianness to it. I really like Italian grape varieties. White grape varieties is fermented in stainless steel because they're so unique, so weird. Oh, man. I talked about in this previous video, sometimes you get flavors that you can't really describe. Sometimes you get flavors that don't sound too technical. I get like a cotton candy component here, along with the fruit. The thing about Timorasso wines, they are so structured. Wow, this is a heck of a start, man. I am still tasting this wine. That is gorgeous. That's really, really good. Let's move on to number two. These wines are not cheap in the US. Maybe you'll find one in the high 20s, but more likely you're looking at 40, 50, 60 bucks and up for single vineyard wines. I think the producers are actually doing a pretty good job of coming together and branding a wine. This might be the world's next great white wine. This one is, number two is a little bit fresher. What you get more, it's just when you taste a lot of wines, you can get the sense of fresher, younger wines. The first one might have had some age to it. This is lemony, white pepper. These to me, I can really see why people compare it. To me, it's like a really good combination of Riesling and Chardonnay. Lime, guava, there's some real mineral sensation going on here. Timorasso is so unique because I love the flavors, complexity of Riesling, but the high acidity, the tartness, the sourness can be can be really too much for people. Timorassos have body, they have nice acidity, really good acidity, pretty high, but not piercing like Riesling. Maybe it could be a bridge to get somebody to understand Rieslings. This one's fresher. Maybe it's not as long, not as complex as the first one, but I think the first one had some age, it had some color on it, but they still think this is gorgeous. These are good wines. Let's move on to 3. For me, it's a little bit weird tasting in a jacket. I don't like wearing jackets. I got a lot of these made when I was a lot thinner. I've always struggled with my weight, especially I used to play basketball. I always wanted to be longer, leaner, and the struggle in the wine industry, you got to be careful. You're always around good food and wine. It takes a lot of discipline, and I'm getting older, so it's hard. I need to cut some weight. 2 is the freshest. 3, when you have white wines that age well, they get this nice bottle patina, this kind of mushroomy sensation. A little bit of cream. This to me is a little bit nutty. Nutty, lemon, lime, guava, minerals. These just, like Riesling, they have just such a great balance of fruit and mineral notes. Oh. 3 is so spicy on the back. It's round, you have this nice tinglingness. These are really contemplation wines. This thing is long. These are great wines. For those of you that are Gary Vaynerchuk fans like me, he just restarted some of his wine videos called Wine Text TV.
Welcome to episode 6 of Wine Text TV.
He did a video about Timorasso, and he had a reaction just like this.
I'm not even gonna wait for the 4th wine. Are you freaking out? This is insanity.
These are some good wines. Let's move on to 4. These wines are really chewy. They're just gorgeous. 4, to me, smells like a Mosel Riesling. You get the blue slate, lemon, pepper, white apple blossom. This is really explosive. I'm not kidding. Maybe doesn't have the acidity. Even dry Mosel Rieslings sometimes are just a touch sweeter than other dry German Rieslings. This has that kind of sensation. The acidity isn't as high. It's pretty big in body. So unique. To me, body of rich Chardonnay, white Burgundy even. Great, I mean, great. These are awesome. Let's move on to 5. 5 definitely shows bottle patina. You get some mushroom. It's not as explosive. Doesn't have the fresh fruit flavors. This smells like aged Chardonnay, aged white wine. You get a little bit of dried apricot flavors, dried yellow peach type notes. Wow. I have to say that I thought 5 might be a little bit tired, like on the nose. I was like, oh, maybe this is a wine that's past its peak. On the palate, it's like on the nose, it was all dried fruit. On the palate, it's just so much fresh fruit flavors. And that acidity, man, that acidity is just popping. Such an interesting grape variety. Let's move on to 6. 6 is got a lot of white flower, flinty notes, mineral, chalk even, lemon, white peach. Gosh. I love lemonade, and that's why I love Riesling. It's like adult lemonade. That has a lot of these flavors, maybe like adult lemonade mixed with minerals. Chardonnays can have some more riper stone fruit flavors. Maybe you throw that in. These aren't tropical fruit. They smell like cooler climate wines, but man. This last one is the one that's more kind of contained. It's all in balance. It's not as explosive as maybe some of the other wines are, but this would be a good introduction to the variety for a lot of people because nothing really sticks out. It's not too acidic. It's not too explosive on the nose. The fruit is balanced. It's not too mineral. Everything comes together. I am looking forward to the reveal. Wow. A lot of these were samples, but some of them I had to go out and buy. I have done some great episodes lately, but this might be one of my favorites. These are great wines. When you taste lots of wines, I taste anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 wines a year. It takes a lot for you to get excited, especially when you're drinking younger wines. This, to me, all these wines were very exciting, and that's what's cool about this grape variety. Let's start out with number 6 here. It was the one I just tasted last. This is something you introduced to a lot of people. It's really good, 92 points. This is like, I want to bring this wine to show everybody. I thought it was a brilliant wine. This is the Vigneti Repetto Derthona Quandro. This is their just standard Derthona wine. Comes in at 32 bucks, 2021. This is a producer that was influenced by Walter Massa. This is their base wine. I've seen this as low as 27, 28 bucks. I highly recommend seeking this out because I've seen this available in the United States fairly regularly. These wines are rare. That's just a perfect way to introduce somebody to Timorasso. Brilliant wine. Let's move on here. Next up was number 5. It had a lot of age notes. It's the one where I thought, man, maybe this is a little bit tired, but then all of a sudden the freshness on the palate really impressed me. I would have given it a higher score. I think that a lot of people would be turned off by the age notes on the nose. And, you know, it's a young wine. It smelled a lot older than some of these wines I think maybe should be. 92 plus points. I still love the freshness on it. What do we have here? We have the man that's credited for bringing this variety back from the brink. This is the Vigneti Massa. This is the Piccolo Derthona 2021. This comes in at 28 bucks. Piccolo Derthona. So this is the lower level Derthona made with younger vines. It's a wine that's made to be drunk a little bit younger. That's why I had maybe some of those aged notes. But on the palate, you can see why it's still popping. It's still a very, very good wine. I have yet to taste this producer's main Derthona. I need to get on that. If you're checking out the Piccolo Derthona from Massa, check out the younger, fresher vintage. Number 2, younger, peppery, like a blend between a Riesling and Chardonnay. It really reminded me of Rieslings from the Rheinhessen, a little bit riper, maybe mixed with some Chardonnay body. I love the white pepper. God, I mean, these wines have real tension. I gave this 93 points. I thought it was a very good wine. I loved it. Classic producer. This is the Vieti Colli Tortonesi. Like I said, that's the denomination. Timorasso Derthona 2021. This comes in at 40 bucks. This is the only wine that was partially aged in oak. Some of it's aged in concrete, some of it in stainless steel. That's the cool thing about white wines. You can age different amounts of wine in different containers and then blend them together. You get something interesting. Vieti is a great producer of Barolo. You have a lot of producers of Barolo moving over to Tortona to make Timorasso. That says a lot. Classic producers making great wine. This comes in at 40 bucks, widely available. Highly recommend, and I think that wine's probably going to age beautifully. This is the thing, if I was tasting it not blind, I might even give it a higher score. 2021, it tastes like a super fresh wine. So it's a wine that's going to live a long, long, long time. I mean, we're already coming up on 3 years of age with a white wine. I thought that was gorgeous. Okay, we continue to climb the ladder here. Number 4 is the one that I said, man, this smells like Mosel Riesling. I like this because all the wines were similar, yet they had different characteristics to them. Mosel Riesling-esque, yet with not as high piercing acidity. I gave it 94 points. I think it is outstanding. This is a single vineyard wine. This is the Vigneti Giacomo Boveri. This is the Lacrime del Bricco. Lacrime del Bricco, I think that translates to Tears of the Hill in Italian Derthona. This comes in at 35 bucks. This was like great dry Mosel Riesling. I would buy cases and cases of these wines because they're going to go up in price. They're a rarity. It's almost like a perfect storm, an extinct variety that these producers brought back. They found that it's high quality, makes good wine. They got people behind it. They communicate it well. The demand's going up, so they started at a high price point, and these wines are going to become even more expensive with time, I believe. That's great. These last 2 are ridiculously high scores. I think some of the highest scored white wines I've ever done on the show. Number 3, tingling, mineral, fruity. It just had the perfect balance. I love the tingly acidity, and it had the real tension on the palate. I did a video a while ago about translating wine terms and tension on the palate. I feel in Riesling more often where you have the balance of fruit and acidity. It's like a fresh squeezed orange juice, that citrusness, that fruit. It's like a dance on your palate. 95 points. I thought this was brilliant. This is another producer making pretty affordable Barolo. This is the Fontanafredda Derthona, Colli Tortonesi Timorasso, 2021. This comes in at 36 bucks. This is a wine, again, all stainless steel. Didn't get such high scores on the press. That's why you don't always trust the press. You gotta trust your own palate. Go out, taste wines, or trust people that you find you have similar palates to. I thought this was outstanding. Fontanafredda Barolo producer makes really affordable Barolos because they have a little bit more quantity. I remember at one point during the lockdown, I was stuck in Croatia and I got a bottle of their standard Barolo. It was on sale, on clearance in Croatia at a supermarket for like 25 euros. That's a heck of a wine. The first wine, it smelled aged, but it was still Riesling X. It was structured long, had that cotton candy type component. To me, it had the perfect blend of having some age, but it was still fresh. Gorgeous wine. I gave it 95 plus points. That's a huge score, 95 plus points. We have the Vigneti Repetto Derthona Orgi. This is 2018, so it has some age on it. A lot younger than that age. 42 bucks. I think 42 bucks is for the current release of Orgi. I don't think this is the current release. I asked some producers for samples. They sent me an older one, and I wanted to throw an older one in to mix. The Massa smelled the oldest, but again, made with younger vines, younger quality grapes, so it doesn't age as well. That was the oldest, and it still didn't taste that age. Tell me, have you ever tried the grape Timorasso before? Do you have any favorite producers? There's other producers I've tasted I don't have all here. I couldn't get all of them, but what a heck of a tasting. Go out there and try unique grape varieties, guys. I'll see you soon.